So Jörg, thank you very much for this great presentation. I think Der Grüne Punkt is one of the companies who are really leading in this sector. And so this is one great example we have seen. Now every time when I come to a sorting facility, I see products of this company. The name of the company is TOMRA, and so I'm very pleased to welcome you on stage, Dr. Daniel Schwaab. Because every time when I'm out there, I see your products. So be happy with your presentation. Welcome on stage.
Hello, it's really a pleasure to be here and talk to you over the next couple of minutes about real practice example in closing the loop of plastics. My name is Daniel Schwaab. I'm part of a strategy team in TOMRA. TOMRA is already for 50 years leading the resource revolution by providing solutions mostly for sorting, but also for collection of materials. And you will see some practical examples during that presentation. When it comes to circularity of plastics, I would like to focus on three main issues today. First of all, reuse. We talk a lot about single use, we talk a lot about recycling, but we don't talk enough about reusing plastics, especially in the packaging side where possible. Then there is two other main problems. One problem is that we don't collect enough for recycling, and you just heard from the Grüne Punkt that actually there is still much more to be collected because we don't collect enough. But even what we are collecting is often downcycled. So we have to collect more, but also recycle better. And again, I will show you some practical examples in the next couple of slides on which systems are there to enable that. So let's move forward with using really some proven solutions. So what I will show you, and at the end I will really show you live examples of that, is we need to get to a system view where really we apply the best practice examples. So together with the company Eunomia, we created what we call the holistic resource systems, where we looked into the best practice examples across Europe on different practices in waste collection and waste management. And we basically found in that research that if you apply the best available technologies and you scale that on a global scale, you could save 2.7 billion tons of CO2. So that's actually a very big saving in the context of climate change, because those technologies are already existing. It's just that they are not used broadly, but more in niches. In the TOMRA holistic resource systems, we basically have four different elements. One element is the reusable takeaway packaging. One element is the deposit return systems. One element is, as we already heard, the separate collection of certain waste streams. And the last bit is what we call mixed waste sorting, so basically taking out the valuables of all other waste streams, especially the residual waste streams. And I would like to basically highlight all of those elements now. If you think about reuse, especially on the fast food packaging, today that's all made out of single use mostly. And this is not only a waste of resources, but it's even actually a littering issue. So if you go to a city, you will find a lot of fast food packaging, cups, bowls, and trays littered around the city. And that could be actually turned into reusable packaging. And actually, since it's consumed in a relatively close proximity, it's actually is a good case for reuse. But the main point for reuse system, it has to be convenient. It has to be convenient for both the consumers, but also then for the restaurants and bars and cafes who are supposed to offer reuse solutions. And the solution which TOMRA has developed is what we call the open managed system. So it's basically a kind of circularity as a service where we provide densely populated collection points. We have a very simple payment mechanism, and we also have central sanitization. And all of that is needed to really create convenience for consumers. And this is already implemented in the city of Aarhus in Denmark. There's really live example that this system works. Another known example already mentioned before, which for example we have in Germany, is a deposit return system. Deposit return systems are used in many countries for collecting of beverage containers, especially PET. And it's best practice that with that you actually reach over 90% collection rates. At the same time, you make sure that those bottles are not littered. but also then, since you have a very clean fraction, which is source separated, you can also then easily recycle it. And you will all know that PET bottles is a good example of closed loop recycling. Similar to what we heard earlier, so actually, besides all the efforts of source separation in Europe, there is a study from material economics from a couple of years ago, which found that 80% of plastics, so that's both the packaging and the non-packaging plastics, is actually going to incineration in landfill. So there is actually a huge amount of plastics lost, and that is what we need to cover using mixed waste sorting. So basically, mixed waste sorting is just applying a sorting of plastics or other valuables out of the residual waste streams that could happen either before incineration or before a landfill. So if you think about it system-wise, you will basically have your waste stream. It will get sorted. You take out all the valuables. You need to do a pre-sorting, and then you take it to recycling, to mechanical recycling. But then you might say, actually, if the plastics was on a mixed waste stream, it's much more dirty. But there you should actually also improve your mechanical recycling plant. So we talk about advanced mechanical recycling, and the key for better mechanical recycling is that you do a very good pre-sorting. You apply much better washing, so instead of a cold washing, you use a hot washing. You apply flake sorting instead of swim sink. And you also have an enhanced extrusion together with deodorization and super cleaning, which really will bring the plastics back up to kind of virgin-like qualities. When, as TOMRA is a market leader in sorting, I should also comment on the sorting side. So also sorting is already there for 30 years, and it's further improving. So one thing which we are seeing the last couple of years is that based on incremental improving of the sorting technology, but also through economy of scale. So as sorting plants get bigger and bigger, we see much more granular sorting. So the new sorting plants are taking out like 12, 13 or even more fractions of plastics, which can then be recycled in a closed loop. And the other thing which we are seeing is that also with deep learning and object recognition, we are also able to do much better sorting. So for example, we could differentiate food grade versus non-food grade with that kind of technology. So to give you some examples where this is already applied. On a mixed waste sorting side, so we already have several plants up and running, for example in Norway or in Netherlands or also in Poland, where residual waste, before it goes to incineration, is sorted. And basically those municipalities who do that achieve a much higher collection of plastic packaging per person compared to only the source separation. That doesn't mean that we should stop source separation. Of course, we still need it. We need to improve source separation. But we also should make sure that whatever gets to the residual waste for different reasons is also recovered and brought back into the loop. A good example what is happening the last couple of years in the more granular sorting is that now many MRFs are starting to recover PET trays, which you know maybe from meat or from fruit applications. And there is a couple of those plants in Sweden or in Germany. And several companies already turned that back into basically PET tray to PET tray recycling. So it's no longer only bottle to bottle, but also tray to tray recycling. And you might have seen that companies like Ferch or Greiner are already bringing those things to the market. Finally, on the advanced mechanical recycling side, also together with the advanced sorting side, for example, there is a world-class closed loop system in UK done by Berry Global, who basically put post-consumer polypropylene with that back into food grade. Of course, that's under FDA, but still, it's a very clean process. So all of that is available. So the solutions already exist. So to get to my call to action, and basically I'm addressing all of you, we should not wait for the magical solution. So there will never be one magical solution which is solving everything. Circular economy for plastics will always rely on different bits and pieces. So it will never be that there is one solution which is solving it all. And secondly, many bits and pieces we already have. For sure we need to do more innovation, we need to do more research, but still what I would say is that 80% of a problem we could already solve with what is available, we just have to apply it. Thank you.